Hi, I'm Srishti Sharma, a 16-year-old student from India. I love reading, writing, and have always had a passion for photography. One of my photographs, Sparkler, is the cover art for this issue, which also includes one of my poems. Before reciting my poem, I'd love to brief the idea behind it. Isn't it weird how you can find your younger self in the most random places? Like in the overlooked vocal from a song you used to obsess over. Like in the faded colors of dusk when you had the best day ever. Like in the fragrance of the first book you ever read as a child. It's like a souvenir you hold close to your heart. And that is exactly what I intend to make you feel through my poem, Pressed Petals. Do you ever find your younger self preserved in the pages of a book, tucked in carefully like pressed in petals, hidden by pages read, forgotten until you revisit? Thank you.
Hi everyone, hello. I hope you're enjoying launch night of issue 14 of Paper Lanterns. My name's Simon, I'm one of the writers. I wrote the story called The Child Who Would Grow Up. I thought instead of doing a reading, I would just talk a little bit about the story. Starting off with a quick thank you. So thank you to Grace and Amy and Maggie for choosing my story, and thank you to the wider Paper Lanterns family for editing it, reading it, making it better with your suggestions. I'm very proud of the finished piece. The story kind of came out of a conference talk I saw a few years ago. So I've always worked in higher education for various universities, and this conference talk spoke about how universities are inclusive, but one area where they could improve is about using gender neutral language and widening inclusivity in that area. So that's kind of where the seed for the story began, and I've always wanted to write about it ever since. And then when I thought about submitting to Paper Lanterns, I actually work better when I'm under constraint. I quite like being tied down to a theme. And if there's not a theme, I find one. And then I try and find sub-themes and sub-themes and things that I have to include just to make it even tighter. There's this great quote from an American author and cartoonist called Johnny Sun. And he believes that when the constraints get tighter, the creativity gets better. So how I kind of made the story more constrained was I thought, okay, I'm going to make sure there's lots of references to paper, because this is a story for Paper Lanterns. So there's lots of origami in the story, you will notice. And then I thought, Paper Lanterns is based in Dublin, so I'm going to have at least one Irish character. Then I also noticed that Maggie, Amy, Grace, you enjoy children's literature and fairy tales. So that inspired me to put in a Peter Pan reference and also Shrek, who gets mentioned quite a few times too. So operating all of those under all of those limits, that kind of sparked me to create this story. So it wasn't a story that already existed on my laptop. I very much sat down and wrote it just for this issue of Paper Lanterns. So I'm delighted that you enjoy it and that you chose it. And I hope everybody else there with you tonight enjoys it too. So yeah, that's it from me. Have a great launch. Enjoy the issue. And hopefully one day we'll meet in person. So bye for now.
Hi, I'm Catherine Olver. I'm really excited to be reading for Paper Lanterns this evening, and that they'll be including my poem, The Russian Doll, in their next issue. So here is The Russian Doll. 17. On cold mornings, melancholy knocks me off the shelf like a Russian doll, rolling till I break wide open. I bury my face in my knees, hoping someone comes to pick me up, but no one does. So I reach inside myself and touch each smaller ghost, till their breathing flickers my lips, and I'm braced for any fall, embraced almost. 16. Have you ever hit your own ghost swerving round the stairs' blind corner and thought how beautiful you were in that collision? Blinking, I check the steps of my thinking. My past hurtles down the banister. I want to warn her, but I vanish from my own vision. 15. Honestly, I've hardly moved at all. I've been dribbling the sun down this same old hole for a decade, passing to whichever new ghost self waves, yells, or glares from the calendar's endless squares. They make a net for the tournament I'm playing, towards my goals, against being scared. 14. Last week I taught my sister the 7 times table. 1 times 7 is her age, 2 times 7 is mine, 3 times 7's all grown up. Unstoppable. Who will I be in 7 years? She leans against the door, the 21 I'm waiting for. Beautiful, funny, wicked mistress of her fears. Will I stand there once upon a future time? 13. Shoving used textbooks under the bed, I found myself smaller, afraid of being older, squirmed against the wall's blank shoulder. You'll be fine, I told her, and we floated there, warming each other's air, hugging the past and the future between us, like our innermost doll, who simply needs us to hold her.
Hello, I'm Lorraine Mariner and I'm sharing my poem with you from the National Poetry Library in London. Just one. I just needed one emoji today, that was all. Do you really want to be my friend? I'm still not sure. Yes, I had fun. See you tomorrow at school. Did your message honestly have nothing else to say? An emoji was required, one little yellow smile.
Hello, I'm Ross Kelly, and I'm so grateful to the Paper Lanterns team for accepting one of my essays, which is sort of about the representation of queerness in YA fiction. And I was first inspired to write this essay after falling in love with the Heartstopper books, like many people, and then later the show. And I just noticed how when it grew in popularity, it was just so nice and refreshing to see such positive queer representation. But it got me thinking as well that I think it's important to have a balance of both the positive and not just necessarily the negative, but also, you know, the long history that we have and how we got to where we are today. So I thought I'd read a little snippet from the piece and I hope you enjoy. Books like Heartstopper are a saving grace for so many people who are still coming to terms with their identity, and I hope there are 100 more to come. It's so necessary to have access to these books that contain such bright pockets of queer joy and hope, both the ones I've mentioned in the piece and many more. However, it also needs to be said that queer representation should be complex and multidimensional in its portrayal, in books like Boy Like Me by Simon James Green, and that this representation should be painted with a blend of necessary shades of light and dark. There should be times when the queer representation, and need only be a slice of the story, still just as present but already accepted as a fact. The queer experience is not simply one colour. We are a rainbow, after all, with a marvellous brushstroke of every different shade, a kaleidoscope of ruby reds and glittering golds. How wonderful it is that we can and should reflect every single colour, every single hue. Thanks.
I'm Hilary Elder, and this is a poem I wrote about my body. Me and my body have been together a long time now, and I think I'm starting to get to know her. In this poem, I think I'm trying to stand up for her. It's called My Body Doesn't Like to Be Messed With. You keep telling me my body should be messed with. You're saying that my hair needs to be straight. You're adamant my eyelashes need boosting, and you don't want me to eat that piece of cake. But my body has important work to do, and it frankly doesn't need any distractions, because holding me together every day is a massive, full-on piece of multitasking. Breathing, for example, is exhausting, involving complex intra-body function, much like walking, talking, eating and digesting, while I hardly notice all this going on. If I ever stopped to think about my body, or to thank it for its never-ending graft, it wouldn't want a makeover or spa day. If I took it to a nail bar, it would laugh scornfully. So stop telling me to pamper it with product. Stop insisting on just how it needs to look. Give up selling me stuff to hide its so-called failings. Because like my body, I don't want to give a fuck. What I really want to do is to befriend it, this bag of flesh and bones that's my life raft. Let me hear its creaks and whisperings and tend it. Let us be ourselves together. Let us laugh.